Remember I said on the maintenance video that my back brake messed up. We're going to take a look at that. Now there's a big giant hole right here. I can only assume that that is for reaching an adjuster. Usually the adjusters on drum brakes are either going to be at 6 o'clock or at 12 o'clock. I'm not seeing anything. So we go with violence. Not guaranteed to work. And you really got to be careful that you don't break this. That's coming off. The brake shoes are definitely hanging up on the drum. Hanging up on this side. There is another way. You see these holes? Those are threaded. Those are for a jack bolt. What you do, if you have the right size bolts, look at that, nailed it on the first shot. Whoa, 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 whoa. I just had to say that, didn't I? And what we're doing is that bolt is going up against a piece of metal in here, the hub, and since it can't move, the drum is being forced to follow the threads and come off. It's basically the opposite of pressing something on. This is something you don't want to use an impact on. Even if you have a small impact, you're better off just going slow with a hand ratchet. That way you're not ripping the brake stuff off of the backing plate. There we go. So like I said, these bolts, as I was threading them in, was pushing up against this flange. And since this flange couldn't go anywhere, it had to push this off. Okay, my brake shoe linings look good. Aha, here's the star adjuster. It was down at the bottom. So the brake shoes look good. The inside of the drum, it's good enough. It does have some grooves dug in it, but it's just barely enough to catch your fingernail. So it's not terrible. I mean, also you got to remember we're only stopping this thing from what, 15 miles an hour or something like that. Yeah, it's not like we're doing 100 miles an hour down the freeway. All right, let's clean this. Non-chlorinated brake and parts cleaner. Mechanics use this for cleaning everything. You can actually use it for cleaning brakes. This stuff evaporates to nothing. It evaporates quickly. And it only burns for a little bit when you get it in your eye. Don't ask me how I obtained this information, just smile and nod. Now there is another thing I need to look at on here. The brake cable has adjustment up there. There's also the adjustment down here that I said that I saw. So I need to figure out what needs adjusting and hit it from that end. I don't want to do all the adjustment on the cable if it's actually needing adjusting in here. It seems like it doesn't matter, but it does. Now you can, hey, look at that, there's a part number right there. This has been replaced. You can get brake shoes alone, or you can get a complete backing plate assembly, which that is this piece and everything that's bolted to it, except for this. The brake shoes, the adjuster, the springs, the retaining springs, the ones that hold it to the backing plate, all of it. And then all you gotta do is take off 4 bolts here, pull it off, and put the new one on and hook up the cable. It's that easy. And drums are a pain in the neck to do. If you've been doing them for 50 years, then you can do them with your eyes closed. But for the rest of us, we hate drums. They don't perform very well, and they're a pain to work on. Here you go, so you can get a better look. That yellow flat piece, that is part of the retaining clip. There's a pin that goes through the backing plate. That's the backing plate, the black piece. It goes through there. It's like a nail, but instead of a point, it just has a groove, and there's a spring on it. You can almost see it there. Yeah, right there, the yellow. That's what retains it. Then there's a spring up here, and then that's where it anchors. It's a pivot point. It doesn't pivot much. Then down here on the bottom, there's the adjuster wheel. And I need to see if these are self-adjusting also. And then there's a spring there. So now that I've got the drums taken off on both sides, got them all sprayed off and clean, then I loosened up the cables up here on the pedal. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. You've got the brake pedal. It comes down to here. These are the brake cables going back to the drums. You got the equalizer here, and it hooks up to the brake pedal right here. I don't want to pull it too hard right now. So I've loosened up the adjustment here. Then, back here, I've adjusted that star adjuster in all the way, almost all the way. And what that does is that pulls the brake shoes in. So now I can spin the wheel. The shoes barely rub the drum. So once I get all this actually put together, I'm going to adjust that star adjuster out until I'm making good contact with the drum. Well, not good contact, but a light dragging in the released position. And then I'm going to check the pedal and see how it feels. If I like it, then I'm just going to lock it down like that. If I feel like it needs more adjustment, then I'm going to crank up the cables. So I actually have 2 points of adjustment on this, which is pretty cool. Because in all reality, that is a pain in the rear end to mess with. But these brake shoes, I don't think I said it last night, these brake shoes are like brand new almost. Hold on, let me move this light. There we go. Look how thick that shoe is. That's great. Everything in here looks new. Like I said last night, the backing plate, the entire brake assembly was replaced not too awful long ago. Made some adjustments right on here, which again, that pulled the equalizer up, which pulls the cables a little bit tighter. Now I'm not sure why it's pulling crooked like that. Probably this cable is stretched out a little bit more than that one. That would make sense anyways. but the back brakes are good. I'm gonna do one more thing though. Engine paint. Hot paint. It can handle, well, hold on. No, I'm not painting them red. Cadillac blue, no. I know that's Chevy orange. Let's see what other colors are. More blue. Orange. Black. There we go. I'm gonna go with the black. I think I kind of like this color better in there, but black is rated to 1200 degrees. Oh, and that's ceramic. No, I'm gonna hold on to that. That's really good stuff. I'm gonna go with this. It should be that color. I know one of you, probably more, but I know some of you just said, why do I want to paint the brake drums? It's a personal thing. The devil's in the details. And if you don't pay attention to the details, it defeats the purpose of making it pretty. Let's do it right. Let's detail everything else. And by not drawing your eyes away from the paint, you're going to make the paint look better. Here's before. Pro tip, shake this stuff so much that your arms hurt. And then once you get there, shake it some more. But also, before you go spraying on whatever it is you're painting, do a test fire. Make sure it's the right color. Something I'll frequently do is I'll write what it is on the bottom. That way, it doesn't matter what cap gets thrown on there. I know what it is. And after. Now they're still wet. They won't be that shiny once they're dry. The engine going into this car has a lot of this paint on it, and it's a low gloss. It's not really flat. It's a low gloss. I like it because it kind of looks like a freshly machined color, freshly machined iron, but it's not going to be rusty. Anybody who's asking, this is getting a supercharged 3800 V6. That is a Chevette, 1980 Chevette. 16-inch wheels in the back, 15s up front. Got moon discs, and there's some right up there that go on the back. 4-wheel disc brakes, 5-speed. It's going to be crazy. It's been sitting idle for way too long, and I need to get to work. But first things first. I got to get this done. So this wheel does not show nearly as much brake drum as I thought it did. Painting it was actually a waste of time. But as stupid as it sounds, it makes me feel better. Yeah, I know, sounds stupid. Now we can't really see it since I got the rug and the floor put back down. However, the brake equalizer is still sitting like this. Or maybe it was like that, whatever. It's still sitting unlevel. When I first got this put back together, I took it out and I drove it, and one wheel would lock up before the other. Tremendously before the other. The brakes sucked. To put it plain and simple. But then I drove it a couple other times since then, and all of a sudden the brakes work great. I don't know what happened. I don't even know if these are self-adjusting brakes. I don't think they are. However, if it comes down to it and they still end up acting crazy, all I got to do is get down inside there and crank up one of the brake shoes. It's a 10-minute job, so I'm not really too worried about it. However, I do know that the brakes are in great shape. Left and right, the shoes are great. Everything looks good in there. Everything's clean now. I know that the cables are all good. At the very minimum, I've got something to start with. When we go out camping and I want to fine tune it, I want to fine tune it to where it stops perfectly straight. It doesn't pull left or right. And most importantly, I don't want one wheel locking up before the other. If they're going to lock up, I want them both to lock up at the same time. But any ways around it, the brakes are done. The brakes are good. And it was a fairly painless and easy job, be it a new car or not a new car, but a used car or a used golf cart. You always want to check them out. Because even if it stops really good today, you don't know what it's going to do tomorrow until you get in there and look at it. The seller could tell you that it's got brand new brakes. All that means is that the brakes work good today. Matter of fact, I just bought a Honda a couple months ago, a 2009 Civic, just a beater with a heater, keep the miles off of my truck. And that's exactly what happened. The guy said, "Oh yeah, the brakes work great." And what was it, about 1,000 miles later, it's metal to metal. So you can't trust the seller. They're always going to tell you that, yes, everything's great. But anyways, that's it on this. That's it for the brakes. It's all good. And we'll see what happens next. We'll see you guys later.